Start stream there. It's connecting. And we're live here on Facebook. I'd like to welcome those listening in podcast land, and also like to welcome my buddy Rich. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome back, Mike.
Thanks.
It's great to have you back. But the solo show still went a lot better than I thought it would, though.
Yeah,
It's just not the same when you don't have the other person to kind of talk back and forth with.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, man, so we had a baby last week. That's what happened. My folks were in town. That was not Rich was not falsifying any information. He just didn't give you the whole story. That part of the reason that I wasn't here was that my parents were in town, but that's so we could have a baby, and we had a baby a week ago today, in fact. So. He is resting, hopefully, and my in-laws should be here momentarily to help Danielle take care of all those needs. So we should be good to do the show.
All right. So
my phone,
we are under a time crunch. Yeah, we are under a time crunch. So let's go ahead and get into it, Mike. Let's not worry about it. Well, let's go ahead and
just roll the intro.
Yeah, roll the intro.
Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa. This is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich. Okay, we're back. With that, let's go to the poll question. Rich, last week's poll question was, the house is a rockin' versus...
No, this week was last week was Enter the Sandman and Welcome to the Jungle.
Oh, okay. Well,
jumping ahead a week.
I have bad news. I hadn't voted yet.
You have not voted yet.
And
okay.
I just voted.
That's okay. I went with Welcome to the Jungle, Mike.
Hang on just a second. We have to call in a lifeline. Should I call the normal one or should I call a different one?
Go and get your dad on the line.
Okay, we're gonna call contributor to the show, Joe Hart, on the line. Oh wait, not Perry. Let me find him. Oh wait.
He's usually our tiebreaker votes. We gotta stay consistent.
Hey, bud.
Hey, you're on Balls and Sticks, the podcast. We have another tie in our poll question, so we need you to break the tie.
All right.
The poll question is, Welcome to the Jungle versus Enter Sandman.
Welcome to the jungle.
Okay, well,
all right. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks for voting, and we will we'll get that on there, and that means Welcome to the Jungle wins. Thanks a lot. Bye. Okay, I as a man of the people, I let the votes fall where they may. I don't like the results, but I have to follow them. So with that, and Welcome to the Jungle wins the match by one vote. I'm going in right now to put that vote in. In a 60-40, Enter Sandman wins.
It was Welcome to the Jungle wins.
Or Welcome to the Jungle
voting
wins.
along with me is friend of the show, Solo Stroop, joining me on Welcome to the Jungle. Mike, joining you as the voting for Enter the Sandman was Jordan Stroop. So thank you for everybody that voted. Next week's poll question will be the house is a rockin' going up against Thunderstruck. I'll make sure to get that up after we get off of the air.
Man, I wish I would have known, because I totally have other people that I know would have, like Enter Sandman would have kicked butt, but I was a little busy this week. So the House is a Rockin' versus Thunderstruck. Rich, you'll get it going live after the show. Let's move on to hockey. So the Golden Knights beat the Stars in their series 4-2. Rich, over in the Eastern Conference Finals, how'd the Hurricane Panthers go?
The Panthers swept the series, setting up a Stanley Cup final to be the Florida Panthers going up against the Vegas Golden Knights. Game one is going to be tonight over on TNT.
Rich,
Mike,
you put who I want. I mean, it is who I want. You knew that I was going to
yeah,
pick that.
I know.
Yeah, let's go Golden Knights.
I don't know. The Panthers just been really just sneaky good this year, upsetting some great teams this year. So maybe, just maybe, they can pull this off. I got more confidence in them than I do in the Heat to beat the Nuggets.
Yeah.
And yesterday, I'm not sure if you last week, I decided to make the NBA Finals our lunch bet since you put all the way back at the beginning of the NBA season. You had the Nuggets winning it.
Okay.
So I thought I'd give you that one.
Yep.
Instead of Panthers and Golden Knights, a matchup that hasn't started yet. Speaking of the NBA, the Nuggets won Game 1 of the NBA Finals, so they're up 1-0. Game 2 will be Sunday over on ABC.
So, Rich, I'm going to challenge you.
Okay.
To watch at least one game of the NBA Finals and of the Stanley Cup Finals.
And I can do that since having Fubo.
Yeah, we don't have TNT on Fubo though.
Okay, and I think if they put the NHL Finals on a different channel,
yeah,
I will try and watch a game. But yeah, I think an NBA Finals game I could do is I think they're doing a dual telecast between ESPN and ABC. So even without Fubo, I can easily watch an NBA game.
Yep. Okay, let's head off of the playoffs and head into early season baseball as we're talking Cubs. Last week, the Cubs had 2 against the Reds, 3 against the Rays, 1 against the Padres. Rich, I totally forgot to fill out what I thought they were going to do, so you didn't give it to me. I actually was going to say like 1 win last week. I will put that in and be that far off. The way they had been playing leading up to last week, I was not feeling confident. I'm still not overly confident in this team.
Yeah, neither am I, as I explained last week. I mean, this is going to be the month where you could start to see, are they going to sell or are they going to buy, or are they going to buy maybe with an eye towards, could this guy help us next year?
Yeah, and they already made a trade Friday, and I don't remember who it was, but...
I was just a AAA guy. I think a guy that was down in their AAA system.
Was it a double AAA thing, or did we get a major leaguer?
I believe it was another minor leaguer. Let me find it here. But Mike, oh yes, they traded with the Mets for a guy named Vinny Nicola.
Okay.
The Chicago received cash in return. Nicola was down pitching in AAA down in Des Moines.
Okay.
For the iCubs. So the Cubs last week, though, they dropped 2 with the Reds, making that the Reds swept that series. Then they turn it around and go take the series with the Rays 2-1, and they took the opener with the Padres for a total of 3 wins. So is this a situation that maybe Grandpa Ross needs to put up fake standings on the bulletin board to make it look like they're playing a division-leading team to get this team to play well? As the Reds came into town and basically the Reds were in second to last place. So with that sweep, that put the Cubs all the way down in second to last place because of just the poor play with the Reds.
I had this discussion. So I ended up going into work a couple of days to do just some minor stuff, take care of some things. While I did that, I talked to one of the guys while I was updating a computer, and it said, excuse me, I said, how is it that we can't beat the Rays for the life of, or the Reds for the life of us, but the best team in baseball, we win 2 out of 3?
And it wasn't like we got the back end of their rotation either. We beat their ace, Shea McClanahan, too.
Like, this doesn't make sense. If you're good enough to do that 2 out of 3 games against the Rays, you should be able to do that 3 out of 4 games against the Reds. You should be doesn't make sense. I'm disappointed, but It's something that you and I have talked about for years. For some reason, the Chicago Cubs as an organization play to their opponents. They always do. They play up or they play down. They never play their exact talent level. So when they play the Rays, they play well enough to look like they're in it even when they lose. And when they play the Reds, they just look like garbage. And for some reason, this has been a pattern that they've had most of our life. There's been a couple of years that's been an exception. 15, 16, 17. You could argue, was it 04? No, 03. 03. Because wasn't that the Bartman Ball?
Yeah, 03 I think was the Bartman series.
Yeah, that series, they played well the entire season. But outside of some of those outliers, they just play pretty, you're a great team, we're going to play great. We're going to look like Hall of Famers. You're a bad team, we're going to look like we should all be in AAA. So, I don't know. It's one of those weird things that the Cubs do and have always done. So, Rich, this week we have 3 against the Padres, 3 against the Angels, 1 against those pesky Giants. What do you think?
Well, it's going to be hard to watch these games since they're all out on the West Coast.
Speak for yourself. I'm doing 2-hour feedings. I'm up all the time.
Man, there's a part of me. I have 3 in the outline, but there's a part of me that wants to say 2 games.
I don't blame you for that.
But I'm gonna stick with 3 because San Diego's also struggling, and the Angels are also kind of a team that kind of that's on the roller coaster of what type of team they're gonna be fielding from day to day.
And that I did it because the Angels. I'm actually giving them above 500 this week. I'm gonna go 4.
Okay. So that we're starting to see some cracks in the armor.
Yep.
The Christopher Morel hype train is really slowed down as he's probably struggling to hit his weight right now, and maybe those adjustments that he made down in the minors coming back up to the big league club. I think now it seems like the pitchers have adjusted to him again. And he's struggling with the bat. And I think they're really starting to feel the loss of Cody Bellinger.
Yeah.
But Bellinger is supposed to be back to running and doing hitting drills, so hopefully he'll be back soon and he can get back on track, and we can see whether we want him to be around long term or whether he's going to be in a new uniform come August 1st.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think that the Cody Bellinger experiment needs to continue? Or should we cut ties and see how much we can get out of him?
Well, even if you cut ties with him, there's a chance that you could turn around and bring him back over the winter. But with the way Matt Mervis is playing, you could slide Cody Bellinger back to first base, and you could still hand over the keys to center field to Pete Crow Armstrong next year.
Yeah.
Because
here's the problem with that theory that you brought up, though. You said the thing is, everybody talks about, maybe we can get him back next year. In general, that doesn't happen. Why? It's a business, and when you make it a business decision instead of saying, "Hey, Cody, we know that you're not doing great this year, or we're not doing great this year." But we see you as the face of our franchise. When you do it with feelings, you keep him around. When you make a business decision and you're cold about it and you say, we're going to trade you, how often does it really happen that is truly a rental and not a, see you later?
Yeah, but he's also a Scott Boras client, so there's no way you're going to be able to engage in meaningful contract discussions with him until the wintertime. So you could walk away and only have to you only get a complimentary compensation draft pick out of out of the 1 year contract as he builds up his market value and might sign somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I mean, the same thing could happen with Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman is, with the way he's pitching, he's probably going to opt out of his contract.
Yep.
He said he doesn't necessarily, he wants to be in Chicago. But if you're going to opt out of your contract, maybe the
And
reason,
again,
if he doesn't trade him, maybe there's some sort of handshake deal saying, all right, I want to be in Chicago. I'm gonna not opt out of my deal, but we're gonna need to renegotiate the contract.
again, the choice to opt out of a deal makes it harder for them to bring you back. It just does. So we'll see what happens. I don't hold my breath on either of those two coming back for long term, because like you said, there's a good chance that Stroman decides to opt out of his contract, and then with Bellinger, I think we end up trading him and we don't see him back. We don't see him back. I just don't think we see him back at that point. So, okay.
Yeah.
Any other baseball
Probably.
talk you want to have?
Well, how about a feel-good story out of this?
Yeah.
Liam Hendricks. Liam Hendricks coming back from non-Hodgkin's leukemia. Came back last week. He's already back to his normal self with the White Sox, closing baseball games, just like nothing happened.
Yeah. That's totally awesome. Does baseball have a comeback player of the year?
Yeah, they do.
So he has it.
It mostly goes to a person that is coming back from injury. So yeah, I think. But Trey Mancini had the same thing, cancer diagnosis. Took some time off to get that treatment and came back. Had a great year, and that's how he won it. So yeah, I could see Liam Hendricks getting a year votes.
Yeah.
If not the award itself.
Yeah, I think he'll end up getting it. So, you know, it's one of those things, and I actually have a friend of the family who's 28 years old and just got diagnosed with breast cancer, and devastating news, but it's about how you approach it. And this is, I haven't gotten to talk to her, but one of those things that, when it comes to cancer, it's how you approach it. We have a guy at our church who came down, who got a diagnosis, and he said, I'm not letting this diagnosis sounds scary, but I'm not letting it take me down. And he's doing great. But he talks about when you go into the clinic when he goes into the clinic for his treatments, that a lot of the people there are already defeated, and those are the ones that are struggling more. Whereas the ones that go into it wholeheartedly, I'm going to beat this. This isn't going to be a thing. We're going to get through this. Those are the people that end up, having these miraculous stories and comeback stories. And yes, you could argue that these baseball players having leukemia and lymphoma and stuff like that, they have millions of dollars to get them back to where they're trying to get to. That doesn't change the outcome. What it really tells us is that cancer doesn't care who you are. It'll come for you. Your attitude and how you fight it, it's up to you. So, anyway, sorry, that was just a random thing.
No, great things to say, Mike. So I like it. Loved it.
Okay.
All right, Mike, do you see what's coming up next?
Is it a left turn, Rich?
It is a left turn, Mike.
And after that, Rich?
It's another left-hand turn because we're going to go into the NASCAR corner. Presented as always by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois, down on 5th Avenue, or you can find them on eBay. Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. All right, Mike, before we talk about the Memorial Day racing, we got to eat some leftovers, and I want to get your thoughts on the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro.
So, one, did you get to watch it, Rich?
I did.
Okay.
I watched the North Wilkesboro race.
How good was
some
that
of the last
driving,
chance qualifying?
racing? It looked. Now, a lot of people are like, "Yeah, but all he just drove away and he didn't look back." Blah, blah, blah. You know what? That's fine. Look at the rest of the driving. Look at how the guys talked about that the track was just eating it up, and yet he figured out a way to drive that track and save his tires and keep his car clean and lead. I don't remember, but he led so well. Get out of here. That man
Yeah,
was on
and it
fire.
wasn't like he started on the front row
Nope.
and never lost it. He had a pit road speeding penalty, had to go all the way to the back of the race,
His car
had to go
was
to the back of the line, and then
garbage.
ran away with the race and had to work his way back to the top.
Did you watch him at the beginning of the race? They showed pictures of him driving sideways through them corners. Now, I get loose is fast, but you got to be able to handle your car without crashing it. They fixed that car, they made it work, and they gave him the best car out there. And boy, did he show it. It was awesome. I loved it. On top of it, watching racing at North Wilkesboro. By the way, Rich, the thing that stood out to me the most, how many people were there?
Yeah,
How
they
many times do
sold
you
that
watch?
place out.
How many times do you watch a NASCAR race anymore and it's sold out? Now, granted, yes, this is North Wilkesboro. It's a small town community. This is what kept their city alive for a bunch of years. They have some other things, but this really was the big draw for them. And to see the community come out, to see fans come out, you know what? This is what you need to do. And this is why we've talked about it over and over again. Take some of these old tracks that you want to retire and put them on a 3 to 5 year plan. Allow them to be things that, because tell me this, Rich, in all honesty, do you think the Coliseum is going to sell out this year?
No, the third year, the notoriety and the novelty of the race is starting to wear out.
Yep.
And why would you want to technically have a race in LA, turn around, go cross country to Florida to race Daytona, and then go right back out to the West Coast
Yep.
for your West Coast swing to start the season?
Yep. I think it's dumb. I think you need to move away from that. No, you don't have these tracks every year. They're not gonna sell out every year. The first few years, but and this is one thing that I think baseball is doing right. I think a lot of what they're doing in with the Field of Dreams game, I think a lot of what they're doing is wrong right now. The building the permanent stadium, all that stuff. I don't know about that. That's a little bit much for me. But having it 2 years in a row, having the Cubs and the White Sox as the two teams that are hosting the games there is amazing. Smart move. And then they take a year or two off while they get things ready for the next one. That makes that novelty all that much better. And I think that's what I think the Coliseum is going to suffer from. And I think if we go back to North Wilkesboro again, if we go back there too much, that's where we're going to start seeing that having problems too.
Yeah, but there are other tracks that only the Xfinity Series goes to.
Oh, yeah.
Or another retired track like I think I saw like a Facebook post talking about North Wilkesboro, them saying, all right, where else should NASCAR go? And Rockingham came up.
Rockingham would be a great one. Now, Rockingham, we went to just a couple years ago. So that one's not, it's been a couple of years, but it hasn't been 27 years. One that I think, again, and some of this is hometown bias, but how about we go to new tracks? Look at new tracks out there. Iowa? That track,
Iowa.
That track is one of these tracks that it looks like a 1.5 mile racetrack, but it's 5/8 of a mile. So it's a short track with a high speed, high bank design, super fun to go to. I think that would be a great place to watch racing in.
Yeah, and it doesn't always have to be. You don't have to put a series on it. You could make a rotation to where the Xfinity Series or the Truck Series is there 1 year. The Cup comes comes for 1 year, and then it's 2 or 3 years before the Cup. You get a Cup Series ride back at that location, and instead of a Cup Series, that's when the trucks or the Xfinity track or Xfinity goes there.
So I loved the race. I loved watching Because it looked like old school driving, and yeah, a lot of the guys brought old school paint schemes. It was really fun to see the 29 car out there being driven by Kevin Harvick instead of him in his normal 4. Just that paint scheme alone brings back so many memories of that first year he was racing. It was awesome. I loved it. I hope others did as well. So.
I don't know. I mean, for me, I thought the track, if it's going to be a long-term thing on the schedule, I think probably a repave is going to be needed.
Yep.
So that the entire track is where all the racing isn't happening on the low side of the track.
Yeah.
But that's sometimes there are other tracks where there is an advantage of being on the high side or the low side.
Yep. But I think a repave, but not a redesign, would be the best.
Yeah, just a repave.
But we'll see.
Right,
I don't think they'll end up getting that just because it'll be hard. Okay, but let's move on.
All right. Memorial Day racing. We saw 2 races. We're going to talk about the Indy 500 first, which was won by Josef Newgarden.
Yep.
His first Indy 500 win. Team Penske's 19th. But the first as the track owner of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
Scott Dixon, your pick, Mike, finished 6th. My pick of Rinus VeeKay finished 10th. So we both got top 10 finishes out at Indy. Did you get a chance to watch the race?
We did. I mean, you're
good.
Rich, FYI, if you have a baby, you sit in the hospital room and the baby doesn't do much. The baby sleeps, eats, and poops. That's what they do. And so if there's people there, you don't have the TV on. We had the TV on because, again, it was a race, and we just had it muted. But there's not a lot. You don't do a lot. You're just sitting around. And so, yeah, the race was on. Both races were on, by the way.
All right. The other race, the Coca-Cola 600 out in Charlotte.
Yeah,
Ryan Blaney.
That race was won by Ryan Blaney. For Team Penske, making this the first time that the Coca-Cola 600 and the Indy 500 were won by Team Penske in the same race weekend. Not the same day, because the race got delayed. And almost got delayed till Tuesday.
Yeah. That made it for me hard to watch, because it was like we made plans with some friends, and all right, not Sunday. That's Sunday's race day.
Yep.
And then it gets delayed. So for the Coca-Cola, I know I watched stage 1. I missed maybe most of stage 2 and 3, but we got to see the last stage.
Okay.
That's fine. It was great, good race. The delays kind of made it a little bit harder to watch for me, but I still enjoyed watching the race. That also snapped Ryan Blaney's 59 race winless streak. So now we've seen Truex get back on the board in victory lane, and now Ryan Blaney.
Yeah.
So our drivers, my pick of William Byron came in 2nd. Your pick of Kyle Larson came in 30th, making the season series for NASCAR 11 and 6.
Yep. In that race, Chase Elliott intentionally spun out Denny Hamlin, earning him a great view for the race from home.
Or in the owner's box, or from the stands, somewhere else, but he's
not in the car.
Not in the car. So taking his spot will be Corey LaJoie.
By the way,
and I'm out of the car for Spire Motorsports.
I will say, and this is just me, what Chase did was not necessarily a problem. It was only a problem in that where he did it. He did it in the fastest part of the racetrack. By the way, he probably could have gotten away with it, as he claimed in the post-race interview. Hey, once you hit the wall, these things are impossible to drive. He probably gets away with it if it wasn't for his radio transmission of, man, he squeezed me. What am I supposed to do? Just lay over? That indicates there was some intentionality there. Denny Hamlin was hated afterwards, as he should have been. Yeah. And then, Rich, you want to let us know what happened with Stewart-Haas Racing?
Yeah, Stewart-Haas Racing has been penalized for, I guess, for using a counterfeit part on Chase Briscoe's racing machine.
Yeah.
So I guess, and it was only discovered because his car was randomly selected for an in-depth inspection at the R&D research facility that NASCAR does. So maybe this could lead to more cars being selected for random inspections. And so basically the penalty of it, it's going to make it really hard for Briscoe to get into the playoffs on points alone. As trying to find it there. Okay. So they were docked 120 points in both owner standings and Briscoe's driver standings, but also stripped of 25 playoff points. And the crew chief is suspended 6 races and fined $250,000.
Man, that's rough.
It's going to be rough for the 14 team to make the playoffs unless the guy can win a race and then hope that other people also don't win races like we had last year, where there was a chance that a driver that won a race could not make the playoffs because the other people had points ahead of him. I do want to get you. I want to ask a question with LaJoy though.
Yeah.
Is it common for a sub driver to be taken from an active Cup team to drive for a higher, I guess a race team that has more money and resources?
So it all depends on how the contracts are written
surprised.
out. Is it unusual? Yes. Is it unheard of? No. It totally depends on how the contracts are written out for these guys. If you have an exclusivity tag in there, yeah, you're not going to get that. But I'm sure that that Hendricks is paying the what team does he race for?
Spire.
Yeah, Spire.
Spire Motorsports.
I am sure that he is writing a check over to Spire Racing that says, "Hey guys, this is okay, right?" And they're like, "Oh, sure, yeah, take our guy." It's also just an so it used to be very common back in the day. You had drivers that basically were paid per race, and they didn't even have contracts. And so it wasn't unusual for a guy to be like, "Hey, the equivalent of," I mean, it wouldn't be unusual. And when I say back in the, I mean, in the 80s, 70s, 80s, early 90s, for guys to be under these contracts, not have a contract week to week, and basically be like, "Well, if we make it in, you get to race, and if you don't, tough cookies." They also had more entries. And so it was not unusual for these guys to be like, "Oh, your driver can't race this week because he's got the poops. Okay, well, sorry, guys. They're going to pay me a little bit more. This is a better opportunity for me." And so, yeah, this is unheard of, no. Unusual, yes. Especially in modern NASCAR. So.
Yeah, I just found that surprising. I mean, they said that the reason Josh Berry, Hendricks, who has been Hendrick Motorsports Racing's normal fill-in driver this year, because he races in the Xfinity Series. The Xfinity Series isn't in the same city this week as they're in Portland. That's why Berry is not filling in.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
All right. So, Mike, because we're on a little bit of a time crunch.
Oh, I got it up already. Let's talk about last week's fantasy NASCAR. Solomon Stroop wins with 221 points. Came in second with 171. Funkhouse in third with 144. Rich, you came in fourth with 130. Jenna the Beans, whose, by the way, birthday was Wednesday, came in fifth with 53. Jordan Asupis came in sixth with 23. And Jeffrey only got 3 points this week. Guys, I think you may have used all 10 of your drivers already. You might want to change those. Okay.
Just might.
Anyway, and then overall, Rich, let's get that pulled up as well. Rich, you are in second place by 4 points behind Solomon. Solomon's at 24.65. You were at 24.61. Man, that's close. Funk House is at 22:30, and I'm at 21:57. And then the kids are at 18:61 for Jordan, 17:64 for Jenna, and 64 for Jeffrey. Yeah.
All right, Mike. So this week we're going to be down in Madison, Illinois, which is down near St. Louis for the Enjoy Illinois 300 at the Worldwide Technology Raceway.
By the way, what I find funny about this is that racetrack used to be the St. Louis Super Speedway.
I always thought it was the Gateway.
Or the Gateway.
They did Gateway.
Gateway at St. Louis. That's what it was. The Gateway Speedway at St. Louis. But they changed it because now the sponsor's the state of Illinois. So, yeah. Rich, you have honors, so who you picking?
I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney. I don't know if he can go back to back, but his car's been fast there. He got a good practice, and he's number 2 on the starting grid.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Joey Logano. He needs to do something, so he'll pick it up.
And he won the race last year.
He did. So,
all right.
Next week, remember to if you're in our fantasy, get your lineup in for the race and enjoy that tomorrow. So, yeah.
That's right. All right, Mike. Next week we gotta pick some ponies again, as the Belmont Stakes is being run on June 10th.
By the way, I wasn't here last week. Who won the Preakness again?
Your pick did, Mike. I already took it off the outline because I did
National Treasure, baby. National Treasure.
Yeah. My horse got second though.
It did.
I think that was the first time we have ever done that well.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. So let's go into the quick hits. How Mario Kart? How did your boys do at state?
So by the way, I gotta move my microphone like this. Hopefully you can see me. This is my 8-bit logo for the team. I think it looks good. I love the shirt. I'm really happy about it. And then also the team took second place by 2 points in the gold medal match. They lost by 2 points, taking second place. I didn't get to be there. I think if I would have been there, I could have taken a timeout and got the guys focused and gotten them ready for and helped them win that last one. As there were some things that they didn't do that they should have done. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, Mike, I kept the other 2 topics on the outline because I just wanted to get your opinion on them.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So hopefully we got time to talk about them.
Yeah, we got time.
First one,
we're good.
Okay, first one will be NFL owners approve the emergency quarterback proposal.
Okay.
The rule applies only if the quarterback who is on the team's 53-man roster. Only a person on the 53-man roster can be activated as that emergency third quarterback. So if you're on the practice squad, you're not eligible to be an emergency quarterback, not even if they're elevated for that week's game. So they are only eligible for an in-game activation if the rest of the team's quarterbacks are unable to participate due to injury or ejection, not as a result of benching. So a lot of this goes back to San Francisco's NFC playoff game. You had Brock Purdy, who stayed in the game but unable to perform the duties of a quarterback. In this situation, he would have been deactivated due to injury, and then the backup Josh Johnson got injured and couldn't get back in the game. So that's why they had to put Purdy under center, even though he couldn't perform the duties of a quarterback.
But it's not adding an extra roster spot.
No. So,
I mean, so basically it's your tight end, your Josh Hill. If you got a guy like Josh Hill or Taysom Hill that's sitting there, you could put him in as quarterback. I mean, 95%. Ask 90% of the players in the pros that are not linemen, any of the skilled players, what position they played in high school. About 80% of them are going to be the quarterbacks. Why? Because the quarterbacks are always the best players on the team, and the guys that make it to the Super Bowl or to the NFL are the best players in the world. So they start in high school as the best players in the world, and they move up as the best players in the world. And in college, a lot of times these guys move to wide receiver, running back. You occasionally have running backs and a wide receiver here or there, but you have a lot of times tight ends. Like all these guys are former quarterbacks in high school. I'm not a big fan of it, but whatever. I think it should be an extra. I think you get a 54th man that is a quarterback that can be brought up only if these things are met.
Yeah, so basically this third quarterback has to be on the 53-man roster, but of course you can only suit up 46 players for the game. So you have your 46 active players that are active and in uniform for the game. So this third quarterback can be activated. But it sounds like if the situation, using the 49ers as an example, if Josh Johnson or Brock Purdy was able to return to action, in a sense that, you know what, the doctors evaluated him and he passed physicals and the team was comfortable that, yep, he can throw and still function within the confines of our offense, then that emergency quarterback is back to being deactivated and can't return back to the game unless he's out again for injury. So you're not
I'm okay with it, actually.
So he isn't number 53. He's not player 54. He does have to be on the active 35-man 53 roster.
But he's player 46 or 47.
Yeah, he'd be player 47.
Okay.
In a sense.
Okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that then.
All right. So the other big rule that came apart that I didn't even touch on last week.
Okay.
I
haven't gotten to look at this one at all.
All right. So I got to get this one up. But so they have modified the NFL kickoff rule. So now it doesn't want to give you the
wait.
Define it. The gist of it.
So basically, a fair catch at the 1 yard line is the equivalent of being in the end zone.
Yeah. Or you could fair catch at the 23-yard line. Fair catch, balls at the 25-yard line. Automatically, all in the name of safety.
Okay.
They still want to have a kickoff, but they want it to be safer. Yet at the same time, they're willing to put a team on short notice that their game's going to be switched from Sunday afternoon to Thursday night.
Or, I mean, that's a terrible one, and I don't think we've seen that one happen all the way yet. But the worst one's going to be the guys that are like Monday night games that get moved to Sunday morning. Like, seriously. Or the fact that we're adding extra games. You care about the play of you care about these players, but yet you're going to say we can play an entire extra game, but we can't have a kickoff? How about this?
I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, with this rule, you basically taken special teams players, return guys that are only on the roster because they're really, really good at kickoffs. Those guys are gone. I don't think we're going to see guys like Desmond Howard, Devin Hester.
I think that I actually think the flip side is even worse.
Okay.
You're losing. Your skilled kickers. Your kicker that can put it on the 1 yard line. Those guys are obsolete now.
It's not going to matter whether they put it on the 25. I mean, could you see more kickers trying to, pin it and put it on the 20-yard line to see, let's see if the guy will return it.
That's so dumb.
Get some action out on the field. I don't like it.
I don't like it. And this isn't even a get off my lawn situation. It's a, if you don't want to have the kickoff, just coin flip
Just
determines
have the game.
Coin flip, you get to choose whether or not you start at the 20, your 25, or they get to start at their 25. Like, why not do that?
Because you need a fun way to start the game with a kickoff, even if it's just going to be
can't,
wave.
Then you can't call it a kickoff weekend because there's no kickoff. It's ridiculous, people.
Yeah, I mean, why even bother having a dedicated return man go back there? I mean, why not just wait and wave it off as soon as the ball's in the air and wait to see whether it goes out of bounds and to see if you get it at the 40-yard line instead of the 25. I don't like it. We'll see what happens when games kick off, or
here's a proposal.
When you get the first fair catch.
Here's my change of this proposal.
Okay.
Goes to the 15-yard line.
If you fair catch it.
Yep. It means that you get, or I'd even give you the 20. 15 or 20.
So if you fair catch it in the end zone, you get it at the 25. But if you fair catch it on the field, it's the 15-yard line if you don't want to return it.
Yep.
I like that as well. At least you're not... You're rewarding somebody. You're penalizing them if you want to take the automatic fair catch, or you're incentivizing them. All right, do I really want to try and return this? You're not taking away the skill position players. Because right now, it's not special teams. It's just teams.
Yeah, at best. At best. I don't like it. I think that's something that needs to no. So, okay. Anything else you want to cover before we... wait, we don't have a spoiler. So anything before we get out to shout-outs? Because I have a few shout-outs I got to give.
Go ahead and give your shout-outs. The only one I got is a belated happy birthday to Ashley Couture.
Yeah, happy birthday, Ashley. You, are we allowed to say the number?
I don't know the number, to be honest with you.
She turned the big 4-0, bro.
Really?
Yeah. She's 40. Ashley, you're 40. I'm just saying. That's a big number.
So, Mike, go ahead and give your shout-outs, and then we'll roll the outro.
The number one shout-out I have to give is to my wife, giving birth to our baby last week. Things got hairy there for us, but she came out strong. She's doing great. She's being a great mom, and it's amazing to see how awesome you are. And thank you for letting me be a part of your life and all that. Also, Jenna Bean, happy birthday. You, so, little known fact, we were supposed to, Wednesday was supposed to be our scheduled C-section, so we were supposed to have a baby on the 31st, the same day as Jenna's birthday, and we missed it. But that's all right. We'll still celebrate together. Love you, Jenna Bean, and we look forward to that. Rich, what's it time to do?
Mike, let's go ahead and roll that outro.
Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa. This is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich.